Well, today we're here with beautiful ladies, Maria Alvarez and Anne Marie Donaldson. This is like a follow-up discussion for us. Last year we talked to Mary Alvarez and another lady who's not able to be with us today, but we're glad to have you two ladies here today because I really want to find out what are we doing in the schools and how is that working? Mary, I'm going to let you start first. This is the second year that we were in your school, and I'd kind of like to know how that's working. I'd just like to say that I know that we're making some progress in the schools. We started out the school year at four schools. Now, at the end of the school year, we were up to 9 schools. So I know that there's a demand for this.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Well, it has been an amazing journey for us. It's been a great blessing at University High School just to be able to have the pantry, and not only for our students. People think it's just for the students. We also have a lot of staff members that work in our cafeteria, custodial teachers, counselors, just the way the economy is. We open up our pantry to everyone on our campus. And the majority, yes, it is students. We have students that come in, some on a daily basis, some come twice a week, and some come on a weekly basis. But it has done wonders for our campus. It has improved our attendance. It has improved our behavior. That is something how I connect with students, especially when I see that, they're not going to class or they, constantly are getting into trouble. That is the way that that's the door, the avenue that I use. I'll come in and I'll say, hey, come with me, walk with me. And I'll take them back there and they're like, where are we going? I said, just come with me, and I'll give them a drink, and I'll give them sometimes we have crackers, sometimes we have whatever snacks that we have, Cheez-Its, those are always very popular that we get from the pantry, and just start up a conversation with them. And they're like, they look at me kind of funny, like, why? And it's that breaking bread and you begin a relationship with them. And that's what has helped me tremendously at what I do at University High School.
That's exciting. I know that when I open up a pantry in a school, one of my things that I say is, I want you to be able to give these kids food when they need it, because I think that if we can keep giving them food, even if it's all through the day, that we can keep their attention in class, and maybe we can educate these young people out of poverty. In our public schools, I don't know what it's like at Rappaport, but in our public schools, over 90% of the children are at or below the poverty level. And so I think it's important that we make that extra step. I keep thinking in terms of how can we create pathways to success for the people that we serve, and particularly the children in the schools. Anne-Marie, you were at Tennyson last year.
Yes.
And can you talk about that, and then maybe what we're doing now at Rappaport?
Sure. Yes. I started to work with Dr. Worthy, who had actually approached you for the pantry, and we established one in the counselor's office. And every day, just like Mary says, their children would come to us, and it's some of the kids would come late, not on their own fault. The cafeteria stopped serving, so we were able to give them breakfast, a snack throughout the day, something towards the end of the day. A lot of times I see that too, that they needed food to go home with, because maybe there's an extended time before mom gets home or dad gets home to make dinner. So I would see that a lot, and they would ask, and a lot of times it was so wonderful. They would come and say, can I get one for my sister? Can I get one for my brother? And, a lot of the caretaking in that, it's just such a basic thing is food, and to just nurture them, their family like that just seems so wonderful. So it helped them to be vulnerable and to be thoughtful of their own family, but it was beyond just satisfying the need for food. It just helped them take a next step into being a group, part of a helping network. So that I help them, then they're going to help their family. They're helping their sister or their brother, or even just saying, Mom, I got them something. So don't worry, if you're coming home at 9:00, they're not starving when you get home. I mean, starving in the sense of hungry. But that helped a great deal and helped kids stay in class and just sustained a level of just what should be normal. So that's one less thing that they were dealing with is feeling hungry.
And I like what you said there about it wasn't just for them. They're asking for their siblings and others in their family. And I think that I know that there's kids out there that they've got brothers and sisters that need food as much as they do, and they're considerate of that.
Yeah.
You guys see that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. I had a conversation prior to school ending with one of our young ladies at school that had been terminated from. She comes to the pantry and had been terminated just because she had taken some food that she shouldn't have from her workplace, and just because because of mom didn't manage the money properly. And she said, Miss, I had to do what I had to do. And she was so ashamed. And I'm like, what is wrong? Because she stopped coming around. She's like, I don't want you to think differently of me. And I told her, I just want you to know something. No matter what you do in life, I will never see you different. You will always be. And I mentioned her name and I gave her a hug. And she said, Miss, I was working at a local grocery store, she said, and I took some items for it was a Saturday, and my mom mishandled the money. She went into the store and she didn't scan all the items and she was fired. And she said, but Miss, I had to do what I had to do. Granted, wasn't stealing clothes, wasn't stealing makeup, it was food. And I said, you could have called me, you could have. She said, but I come to you all the time. I said, it does not matter. So if you think these are isolated instances, or you think, oh, kids have it all together, they don't. They're still kids, and they get into fear mode and they make bad judgments. And that's kind of where I built that relationship with them. And she was one that would always come, always every other day would be but she had 3 other siblings at home. And you say, well, parents should take more responsibility. Yes, they should. But what do you do when they don't? Do you punish the student? Do you punish the child? And we don't. Food does something to you. It opens up people's hearts. I mean, at the table, it's where you have the least arguments and the best times to have conversations.
And food is necessary. We all need food. It's not some of us, just some of us need food. We all need food. It's something that we have to depend on. And what I see in the distributions that we do and with the seniors that we deliver to, the numbers are growing.
Yes.
They're growing and growing and growing like crazy. And where you guys come into the picture is I may see their parents or whoever's the provider at this time, but I don't see the kids. You guys see the kids. And so I appreciate you talking about that, because not everybody understands that part of it, that just because we provide food to their grandparents or their parents or whomever, it may not always trickle down. It may be necessary for something to happen, like what you're seeing at the school. They need more food and they're not getting enough at home. It needs to trickle down. And so I like being that we're able to be in the schools as well as giving food to the homes and the people that are needing food. It's not just that we have a high population. We do have a high population in this area of people that are at or below the poverty line. It's very high.
Yeah.
But we also have people that are middle income people, what I call middle income people that have children. Yeah. And if they've got 3 or 4 children, all of a sudden now, these past year or two, they can't afford everything that they used to be able to afford, simply because the cost of living has gone up so much. And so it's a challenge. And I want to make sure that we're able to reach as far in and out and down as we can. And you guys are seeing that. Tell me more about what you're seeing. You're at Rappaport now. Tell me about
so
what
at Rappaport, the population is smaller. It's 17 children per class, but I'm seeing the same thing. And one of the things that, like you mentioned, Mary, is that the mom is mismanaging the money. There's nothing crueler to me than a child having to deal with an adult issue and being completely frustrated with no options, no way to solve that problem.
Mhm.
It's very hard for them. And they become preoccupied with solving that problem. So having the food just readily available and saying, this is here for you, you can take it. It solves the problem. I mean, it's not the global problem, but it solves that immediate problem.
It's an
I can
immediate
do
issue.
something. I can do something about this, and that's empowering rather than all day long, my sister's hungry or my brother, I should do this or I should. It just takes that off the table altogether. One of the other things, and it seems, silly, but the treats, like sometimes, and I know you offer healthy treats, but even just being able to have something sweet, a little bit,
Mhm.
like little fruit snacks and the little peaches in the bowl and just something that is extra than just eating. They're thrilled by it. It feels, I think it restores them, makes them feel kind of like just normal. They're normal. There's nothing wrong. There's no mismanagement of money. There's nothing wrong here. I'm good. Which is important. Children shouldn't feel singled out or isolated because of their circumstances. So again, having that answer to their one problem is
And I think that
great.
some of that is because the kids or the environments that they may come up in, that they don't have enough food, that makes them feel special. I think it makes, and that's
Oh yeah.
important. I think that we do that to kids because they don't understand stuff. You mentioned something once before that just because they're in big bodies, they're still kids.
They're still
Yes,
kids. Their
absolutely.
minds, their hearts, more than anything. And I've worked with the elementary population. My favorite is the high school kids because they're so misread in so many ways. You
Oh, yeah.
see them and you see them big, you see them tall, you see them like an adult, but their
Mhm.
minds, their mind development, they're still
Mhm.
children, they're still kids. And people don't understand that until you begin to work with them and you see what, like she said, a snack does to them, or what food does to them. It shows, especially in our culture, it shows that you care. You can have the smallest house, but when you throw a party, you have the greatest amount of food, and everybody has to go
Mhm.
home with a to-go plate in our culture, because that shows that you're so appreciative. That shows the love.
Mhm.
And just so that people can kind of see. The other day, we're still having summer school on our campus, and I went into the cafeteria during lunch to help out with lunch duty on our campus. And I saw a lot of kids, and I'm like, whoa, the numbers are big for summer school. And the person in charge of summer school, she's like, no, this is our summer feeding program. Because I thought a lot of them are, out of
Yeah,
dress code and in
absolutely.
shorts.
Mhm.
She's like, no, these are the kids that are coming from summer
Just,
feeding. And you think cafeteria food is not the greatest, but
but
it's the need. And we had, at that time when I went out, I was like, what? We had more kids coming in for this summer feeding than actual summer school kids.
right.
That's awesome.
And that tells you where we're at, because when the economy it gets distorted the way it is right now, the first thing that you do cut is your grocery bill, because that is the easiest thing
Mhm.
to cut. You buy the cheaper products, you buy the cheaper meat, you go for pork instead of steak, you go and that's the easy, because parents can't find cheaper electricity or water. I mean, those are
Right.
things that they need to keep the household going.
Yeah.
Rent, car, but food, unfortunately, is one of our most needed assets, but the one that they tend to cut the most. And that's where we come in and we're that
Level
bridge,
it.
that gap, fill
Mhm.
that gap.
That's awesome. And what you say in there making me think about the fact that um, it's not as easy to find assistance with housing costs or electricity costs or some of those kind of things. It's a whole lot easier to go and get food. And so what we try to do is make sure that we provide a lot of food to a family,
Mhm.
and even to the schools.
Yeah.
We can give you enough food that'll not just be uh, enough to get by for today, but enough to get by, period, and have enough with children, especially because if we don't feed them right when they're young, their cognitive skills don't develop, and they're just not going to have the right
Right.
ability to learn. And part of it's because of what they're not eating or what they are eating,
Mhm.
Exactly.
that it may not be enough to satisfy them. And so there's so many different things that we need to do to look at how do we manage what we do with growing children through the educational system.
Mhm.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
And you guys are right there on that front line.
And food is such a special. There's something about food that just touches the student's heart, that just opens them up, that just brings the human aspects. We're both on the same level. To me, it's like sitting down at the table when you share a dinner with somebody. I mean, you're all there for one thing: is to
Mhm.
eat, to fellowship. And so to me, the students, that's how I begin to have those hard conversations with them. Whenever they're misbehaving, I had a group of young ladies that they came in as freshmen, and they found out that they could come to the pantry and, Miss, do you have a snack? And, Miss, can I get a snack? And when we began to have those hard conversations for the first 6 weeks, they were, walking the halls and kind of being disruptive. And once I got a hold of them, I mean, by the end of the year, they both made the cheer team. They were there in cheer camp. I mean, it was just a total
Right.
turnaround through our mentoring groups. And even in our mentoring groups, that's something that we specify is the food. Something about the food that just brings people together and shows that you care. To them,
Yeah.
it shows from our end that we care. I care. I'm investing in your life. And to see the group of young ladies just a turnaround. I tell them every day I'm so proud of them, and they still come for that snack, and they still miss. I'm hungry, and after and I'm there. But that's how we build those relationships.
Yeah. It's such a big thing. Like even Magnolia will have that as their marketing tool. Gather. Let's gather around the table. Let's gather.
Yes.
And so it's true because it resonates. It's so important. It's so important for these children to feel part of something. And then once we feel like you're safe and you care about me, you're just giving me the basics of I care about you. Let's gather together and be together. Now I can start to talk. Now I can start to say. Otherwise, I'm someone who's going to put me in ISS, or I'm someone who's going to be changing my grade, or it's punitive. It's another adult telling me what to do. But when you reach them on that level, like you said, to just sit around the table, even though it's a desk and it's a tiny gesture of food, they just while they're eating, they just start talking and open up, and it becomes now we're almost kin, we're almost friends, family.
Yeah.
We're closer than family. I mean, I have many children that feel like they call me Mama D. And one is my age, I'm sure, but they call me Mama D. It's just because they feel nurtured by me. And a lot is that's I got that name at Tennyson. And those children, again, would come into the pantry and get whatever they wanted. I didn't say a word. Take what you need. Sometimes they took more than they needed, but they just were testing those limits, and what is this all for me? Is it really okay? Are you going to get angry? I got nothing. I got everything. Just like going to your grandma's house and having, the traditional, what I remember at my grandma's house, that everything is open and everything is yours and whatever you want. And so having that kind of fostering on campus,
Yes.
where they may not have that, because now a lot of times our grandmothers are raising our children and they're out working where they traditionally would be home. In that, I remember my grandmother was always around. Anytime I wanted her, she was home. She was nearby somewhere, but she wasn't working. But now grandmas are working, and so that role is being diminished in a lot of ways. So having it on campus to me is just
Amazing.
it's amazing, yeah. And I just feel so blessed to be able to offer that to them, to have them. And then, like I said, they call me Mama D. I mean, just to take me as your mom is just such a big deal, that you care, that you think I care about you in a level that's so nurturing. As to be called mom is such an honor. And I know it's so silly. It's just food. It's just whatever, but it does grow capacity in these children that, again, I can then now reach them, and we can get to the different levels. And then I can reach their mom or their dad or their granny and say, look, I can't do everything, but this is one thing I can do. I can offer you. I did deliver to a former family from Rappaport, and they have hit really hard times. Both parents are working 2 jobs. The children are She's had to take on other children as well because her sister has a drug addiction. And I brought them food and they cried. They were just like, as hard has it been to be just putting something good on the table, something that they felt was worthy of family gathering, family food, and that they're not having the dinners like they used to. They're not having the volume of food that they were accustomed to. They're not having the quality of food. And I think there was a pork butt or something in there, and they were like, "Oh my God, we're going to grill that. The kids are going to." It was like a big deal, such a special event for me to have brought that, and eggs and milk and the baby food because they were a couple of little ones. Just to offer that kind of relief is huge.
Relief is a good word. Getting people food, and when you sit down and you can eat, like you're talking about, particularly with the kids, it breaks down the barriers
Yes.
that we have,
Definitely.
and it brings us together. You've used the term "food is our love language."
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
If you feed somebody, they know that you care, and that's so important that we
Yes.
let one another know that we care, especially these kids in school.
Mhm.
They need to be nurtured. These children need to be nurtured, and they don't get nurtured enough. And I'm not saying that I'm the best at that, but I want to be good at getting people food. And yeah.
And you're doing a great
But you
job.
really,
Yeah.
you really are. You say you're not, but if it wasn't because of your program, because through you, you're a vessel that you touch these kids. So you really do. You
Yeah.
are hands on. You think you're not, but you are, because that is your food. That is what God is using you to provide to us. And I think that is, it goes back to even, the creation, when, Jesus created that miracle with the loaves of bread
Yeah.
and the fish. It wasn't a healing. It wasn't, but it was providing a need. Why did he have such a following? It was because what he gave to them. It wasn't that miracle had to do with feeding, with meeting a need. It wasn't about, oh, well, they were healed from hearing, or the blind, or their sins. No, it was meeting the need. And I
A
think that
basic
us
need.
as when God places you in those positions at the schools and at the pantries and like at Rappaport, we are that extension of his work, of your work. The people that sow into your ministry, the people that give, that they are touching these kids. Some people say, "Oh, well, I don't have time to go mentor," but if you give $5, if you give $10, you are touching those people. You are
Right.
it. Those are your hands, and I don't think people make that connection, that we could not do it if we didn't have your donations. You couldn't do it if you didn't have your audience's donations. So we're on the same team, just different members.
I try to tell people when I'm out speaking at groups and different things like that, and I do that frequently, that we just happen to be the hub. We're the place that when people sow into us,
Yes.
we can give it back to the community. And it's not that we're doing it; it's we're all doing this.
Yes,
Right.
We
they
all have a
are.
part to play in it.
Yes,
Right.
And there's no unimportant parts in this.
exactly.
There's no unimportant parts in this
Right.
because I run a tight ship and I make sure that our expenses stay as low as they possibly can, yet still provide a lot to the community, and we do.
And even when we go and pick up food there at Shepherd's Heart, I love seeing our kids that are in our special education classes and see Mr. McKeever, and they take such pride in
Pride,
what they
yes.
do. They tell me, "Can I help you load? And can I help you do this?" Because I take students to help me load. But and you're thinking they're helping me, but no, you're helping them because you give them that sense of, I'm a part of something. And I just, that is the miracle and the beauty of this program, is that it's not just one thing. It's, you're thinking you're giving to, or they're giving to you, but you're giving to them. You're giving them a sense of pride, a sense of joy. Even our students that go and pick up and they're like, "Miss, can I please come and help you? Can I please be a part of this, because they tell other students
Yes.
what it is, the joy of serving. And, our JROTC, whenever we do have those drive-through pantries, I mean, like, Miss, when is our next one? Miss, when are we going to do Miss? When it was canceled because of weather, they were kind of disappointed, and they're like, Miss, we're not doing it today.
Yeah.
But I mean, you think they're helping me know it, and it all starts with those donors, because without the donors, there would be no hub. There would be none of this. It takes donations, and
Yep.
maybe some people have the money but don't have the time. Some people have the time and not the money,
Right.
and that's the beautiful correlation of all this. And then we're there just distributing. We're those 18-wheelers that just take them to the people. But
You are, yeah.
but such a blessing to be able to be
Yeah.
part of it. This is the beauty of it, that we could not do this without you, and especially without your donors, especially without them.
It's teamwork. We all doing this
Yes,
together.
and your
Yes.
team is exceptional. Every time I
Yes.
go,
Miss
they're
Kathy, yes.
kind, they're helpful, they're just, and they love what they're doing too. I mean, and
Uh-huh.
that speaks volumes. So it's just, again, the whole, it's an organized, happy place to be, and the
Yes.
kids love it. I just remember when you were at the Dewey Center, I was there just as a vendor, and I'm watching a little boy. He ran up to you and he wanted to hold the sign. It was a big, so he had seen you at another school, or knew who you were, the organization, and he grabbed the sign and he held it all over the street, and he was just so proud to be this person,
Yes,
to be
and be
able
part
to
of it.
And he
report.
was so lively.
And
He loved it.
He was so, and I watched that from afar. I didn't, but I just knew that you made the kid's day. He was part of something big, and he enjoyed doing it. And again, it's empowering, and that is the biggest thing I think we need. A lot of our kids, like you said, they're thrust to be adults without the tools.
Yes.
And now we're giving them, it's more than just the food, but again, just I can do this. This is an accomplishment. This is an end to, something I can accomplish and do well. And it solves the problem. That is what I think we should keep moving forward with kids, is helping them realize they're capable, but we've got to give them the steps from below. Like, so we're hungry. What do we do? Well, I don't have any more food stamps, or we misspent the money, or there's nothing I can do. And then having this as a situation at school where that can be solved is great. And then now the next task. Again, I was telling Bob on the way in, is that some of my children don't have the executive functioning, the one foot in front of the other. How do you do this? And that again, we're showing in this ministry, being able to have them. What's my need? There's my solution. Next. Now what's my need? Now your need is to stay in class, and let's be a kid again. Let's not deal with the adult issue of that's easily solved. Let's say everybody together will solve this problem with you. And then they can be a kid again. I mean, and go back to what their tasks are.
And I think the important thing about that is what you both have said. I'm going to just say it a different way, is because they feel good that they got something. Number one. Number two, and it's not that has to be number one, but number two, you give them an opportunity to give back, and that makes them really feel good about getting number one.
Absolutely.
When they can get involved in the process, it's like, wow, let's do this again.
Belong to something.
Yes.
And I always say, in order to make a withdrawal, you first have to make a deposit. And to me, depositing that friendship through food, or depositing that snack, or depositing to meeting that need, then you can withdraw and hold them accountable and say, okay, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Let's redirect. Let's do this.
Right.
But whenever you have something already there, when you've invested something, the kids know it, and they see it. You can say it, and you can say it, but until you show them, when you show them with the act of just making that deposit.
Very small,
yeah.
We had some kids in last week that were here on a summer vacation. They're kids from all over the country that come through a program that they come into Waco once a week, 1 week out of the year. And they were at the pantry, and they did some other things, volunteering in the community, but they were at our pantry in the mornings, packing up the food, getting it prepared for the mobile distributions. And when I offered them the opportunity to go out to the different distribution, they said, well, okay, we were only going to work till 3:30. I said, that's fine. Our distributions really operate from 3 to 4, but if you're there for the first half hour, it'll give you a chance to see that what you did here, how meaningful that is. Well, they went out one day and they didn't stay till 3:30. They stayed till the end at 4 o'clock. They were so hyped up about it.
Yeah.
And then they want to do it the next day too.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, it wasn't the same group. It's just that they went back and told the rest of the group what they did. And the group that was coming to our pantry the next day said, we want to do that too.
Yeah.
And so they took ownership of it. They said, we want to do this. We love this.
Yeah. And I see the growth in the community too. So one of the things is that, again, we see the truck, the Shepherd's Heart truck is rolling in. And when Dr. Worthy started it at Tennyson, we had it. It was wonderful. Matt Rambo supported it. Everybody was part. But it also attracted Renew Church to us. It also attracted some of the community members to us. So some of the members of the community that benefited, that could just drive through without hand in hat feeling. You know what I mean? You know, here I come to you with my hat in hand, and please may I.
I'm one about
none of that.
I'd want to get rid of that stigma stuff.
No, not at all. And they just would drive through, and Matt and Dr. Worthy would stand out there and just serve. And again, then when we did that big Saturday one just before Thanksgiving, Renew came over, and it was a humongous effort, but it was effortless, really. But it was so wonderful when I look and see that I have, parents, I have kids, I have community people, I have the church, Bob standing out there. Everybody's out there doing something, and they were rolling away with baskets of food, ready to serve dinner, ready to do Thanksgiving. Right? It was just so wonderful. It was hot. It was hard work, but it went too quickly because we were fellowship again, back to we weren't even eating, but we were taken together. We were talking, we were learning, and now Renew has taken on that since the construction of Tennyson. But I really still feel that when they see the truck, they know it's just let me ride. I can just ride through. It takes me a couple of minutes, and there's not going to be any stigma, like you said, to having to roll up
just because everybody has a need,
right.
We all have a need sometime,
and even these parents, like I said, just being able to say, okay, we're going to put the grill on, we're going to just even to some of the grandmas too, being able to have something to cook for Sunday or something that, were our traditional family traditions.
Let me just share some numbers with you. I mentioned earlier that we have a lot of people. There's over 48,000 people in our community that depend on us because they just don't have enough.
Right.
They just don't have enough. In that number, there's over 22,000 people that do not have a high school education.
Right.
They're always going to be in our line because they're not going to be able to get a job that gets them above the poverty line.
Right.
And I mean, when you take that number and roll it out into the community in terms of who does that touch? It touches a lot of people in a lot of community, a lot of different neighborhoods, a lot. So what we're doing, what we collectively are doing, it makes a difference. It really makes a difference.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we want to change those numbers for our students. A lot of times, like my dad was a first generation Italian from Italy. He came here and he worked. He had an 8th grade education. There's no shame in that. He worked hard. He did it all. But there were times that we didn't have, and we would depend on sometimes our church, sometimes, but it wasn't as big as what you all have. But being able to just have those simple needs met. Again, now I can focus on something else. I want our kids to be able to be kids and say, okay, so I'm going to get my high school diploma. I'm going to, earn a living in a different way. So I'm going to either a vocation or become an entrepreneur or go to college. There's not one way out of above the poverty level. And just to let them know and not weigh them down with the problems of the adults, the adult issues, so that they can grow to be adults that are more productive and not in that poverty level. And then they can give back.
Yeah. And if we can get to the place where we accept one another, that we help one another.
Absolutely.
Now we can really make a difference on those kids that, in the old days, we could get by with without getting a high school education, because things were very mechanical. We were hands-on. It's not the same now in this generation.
Yes, exactly.
The kids need some kind of something. And like you said, they can either go to TSDC or something like that and get a skill developed, or become an entrepreneur. There's a lot of ways that we can teach them
Right.
if we can teach them. We got to get them to where they'll listen and learn.
First. Right.
This has
And
been a great
that-
conversation with
yeah.
you guys.
Well, thank you.
Love you
Glad
guys.
to be part of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we're it's a blessing to be able to partner with
Mhm.
you and with Shepherd's Heart and
Yes.
with your donors. And it's just something about what we were talking about, giving back. That's something that I always tell the students when they graduate.
Yeah.
Don't forget, come back and serve your community. You know, this is where your life begins. And we do have a lot of our students that come back and will sponsor students. We have somebody that sponsored suits and dresses and
Oh, yeah.
just because they remember what it was like to be that age and not have a suit for prom or not
Right.
have a tux or not have a dress or not have, and I love it because we have such a melting pot. Sometimes, we think of the girls maybe going to prom but not of the boys. And so
Yeah.
it's the beauty of just the community effort
Mhm.
to come in. It really does take a village.
Yep. And I'm going to speak to that just right now because it does take a village. And the people that support our ministry,
Yes.
they are that village.
Yes.
And it's not everybody that can get out and do this because we got some grandmas and people that can't get hands on because they're doing something else. But it's all the teamwork that we have that's every part of this. And I'm just going to mention that anybody watching this, that if you want to get involved with this, you can be a donor. You can donate to our store, we take donations of clothing and furniture at our store, but we also take money donations, and you can go to our website, shepherdsheartpantry.org, and it's easy to donate right there online, and that's how we get by. I tell people all the time that we can feed a family for $5, and that's important because we run a tight ship, but we still can feed a family. And we're averaging about 52 pounds of food per family.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I want to thank you guys for being here today.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.